How are y'all doing tonight? So as you mentioned, my name is Sam Salz, and I am 5'6". I play wide receiver at Texas A&M University, the greatest university in the country and in the world. But how did this happen? Because before Sandra had told you that I hadn't played in high school, that might have been the first thing that you wondered was he really good in high school? But the answer to that question obviously was, well, there was no high school football. I spent my entire life going to Jewish schools, attending a yeshiva education. And what's constant amongst about every Jewish school in the country is the lack of a football team. The only Friday night lights that I had were my mother's and grandmother's Shabbat candles. So the question still remains, how did this kid make it on to a Division I SEC team? And the answer to that question, my friends, is faith. There was a thought that I had, a desire that was placed in my mind. And truth be told, I don't remember exactly the time when it appeared, but I can tell you that it had persisted. And despite not growing up watching college football, and despite not growing up in a household that really cared too much about football, something told me that I had to play college football. And sometimes when you take a look at these seemingly random thoughts and these random desires that you see, and they'll just appear seemingly out of nowhere, you have to take a look into the deeper reason they exist. Because as people of faith, we know that everything comes from God. That everything we have and we know comes from a holy place. It just depends how you use it. And I began to explore this desire when I was in high school. But it disappeared, or it went to the back of my head, because it wasn't so possible. School was from 7:59 a.m. to 4:57 p.m. I don't know why they had those arbitrary numbers, but there was no football team with the school. I couldn't go and join the local public school, and so it faded until I showed up at Texas A&M University. At my first game that I got to see, it was my first football game ever, I was standing in the front with tickets that my friend had got me. And of course the game was after the Sabbath, as my religion prohibits me from engaging in such activities during the day on Saturday. Thankfully, it was a night game. It came back. I saw the players, and I realized that I could do it. But not just could do it, I have to do it. And that started my journey of figuring out why I had that desire. And so, I started to train. Every day, I worked very, very hard. I looked up everything that I could possibly find about football, because I didn't know anything about it, truth be told. And to really give you guys an understanding of how little I knew, I had to look up what position short people play. And that's how I started training to be a running back, which later became wide receiver. I had to teach myself things. But in this journey of teaching myself things, I got to understand something really important. And as I said, everything you have comes from God, even the injuries. Because the first time that I ever pulled my hamstring, I was practicing to run the 40. And most of the time you can get bogged down because, yeah, you can't train. You can't continue to work for what you're trying to accomplish. But I began to look at it from a different perspective. I began to understand why I was doing it. Because anytime you go out and try to accomplish a goal, the first thing you're going to be asked is, why are you doing it? And I realized something. I could be one of the first. I could be one of the first college football players who is Sabbath observant. And I believe that in being able to accomplish this, I would be able to inspire people not just to go out and accomplish the things that they were meant to accomplish, to follow the reason that they were made for, but to teach kids and teenagers that keeping to your values will never set you back in life. It will only bring you forward. And sometimes you have to look for these little whispers in the seemingly tough times that you go through. But I continued to train. And I didn't let anything anyone really told me hold me down. In the book of Numbers, we read, I believe, one of the most important stories, and that is the story of the spies. When the spies came back from the land of Israel, and they said that we were like grasshoppers in their eyes, the lesson that we learned from here is so important. Because many times people are worried about how other people view them, that they make themselves small in the eyes of other people. But in order to accomplish my goal, I had to realize that how people viewed me was not in my control. That was in the control of the Almighty. That was in the Almighty's control. And if I were to view myself like a grasshopper, I would not be able to accomplish my goal. So I began to pray. And as I prayed and trained, my connection to God grew stronger. I would come off the field every day, and I would feel this renewed sense of faith. There were things that I needed that God provided for me. I remember one day, very significantly, after this hamstring strain, I was training on this field outside of Texas A&M's facility, which is where I practiced. And one of the quarterbacks, who was a walk-on, he came out and was throwing the ball to me. And I was having trouble catching the ball because, well, my hamstring hurt. But at the same time, I hadn't had anyone to throw with. And I went home and I prayed to God. And the next day, another Jewish student who I had seen at an organization was walking by this field as I was training, and he became my quarterback. He began to throw with me twice a week. And along this journey, everything that I needed, God had provided. Because I had learned that if you do things for the right reasons, in Ethics of Our Fathers, it talks about this. It says that a debate that is for the sake of heaven will have an abiding result, and a debate that is not for the sake of heaven will not have an abiding result. I realized that doing things for the right reasons was the prime factor in achieving success. After 9 months of training outside of Texas A&M's facility, it was 11 months before when I had fully trained. That was the full amount of time. But after 9 months of training specifically outside of Texas A&M's facility, where I spent two hours in the field a day and 2.5 to 3 hours in the gym, and another 2 hours scarfing down beans and rice because there wasn't kosher meat readily available in College Station, I was given a text. This text was from the associate athletic director at the time at Texas A&M, a man that I had met by attending the head coach's radio show. Sam, can you come down to the facility? I was studying for an economics test at this time. I couldn't study after that. But an hour later, I was added to a group chat. And that group chat was with the staff of the team. And they said, "Welcome to the team." Now, here's the funny thing about that. They never had a tryout in fall of 2022. In fact, when my father had asked me about, are they going to have a tryout, I said, Pop, I don't know. But I said, I have faith in God that the right thing will happen. And if I am supposed to be there, I will be there without having to try out. And I'm going to leave y'all with this question. Are you a grasshopper in your eyes? Thank you, guys.